Welcome back to the Brew Bucks podcast. My name is Jacob.
And I'm Alec.
On this podcast, we interview successful entrepreneurs, personal finance creators, speakers, authors, and everything in between.
We like to keep things casual around here by cracking a beer with our guests at the beginning of every show. There's nothing quite like having a conversation with your friend while sipping on a cold one.
If you're looking to learn more about money and entrepreneurship, all while having some fun along the way, this podcast is for you. Buccaneers, it is Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Brew Bucks, episode number 32, where we interview our friend Jessica all about wholesaling houses. So, super great interview that I'm excited for you guys to listen to. I do have some news, though. Alec is not here today. Instead, I have brought along my buddy Doug, and he will be hanging out with us throughout the episode and helping tell Jessica's story. So, Doug, what's up, dude?
What's going on? What's up, everyone? Super excited to be here. Long-time listener, first-time co-host, but really excited to get into the day and see what Jessica has to tell us.
Yeah, hopefully Alec doesn't break out of the closet that we have him locked in and come, breaking down the door and trying to take back over. So, Doug, you are going to fill in and read our question of the day. So what do we got?
So we got a question from Ryan, who's in Florida. He said, I just started investing a year ago and it seems I'm only losing money. Should I sell? I'm pretty stressed out.
Yes. Thank you for your question. I think, especially over the last decade, it has seemed pretty much impossible to lose money in the stock market. And I think there's a ton of people who have basically shown the world like, hey, look at all this money that I've made over the last 10 years. Like, life is great. The stock market only goes up. And really, that's not the truth, right? Like, the stock market does have down times where the up times happen a lot more frequently and last a lot longer. There are definitely times where the stock market goes down. And unfortunately, if you were someone who started investing over the last year, you were probably experiencing a lot of that just sinking feeling in your stomach. Like, man, I thought investing was supposed to be so great. I put a ton of money into the market. Now it's just going down. And I know that can be a really uncomfortable feeling, but I would encourage you to go back and continue to do some research on really the history of the market and the waves that it goes through, especially if you're someone who's young and has a really, long time horizon and that money's meant to be sitting and invested for a long time. There's really nothing to be worried about because, again, over, the last 200 years, or I don't know, however long the stock market's been around, I forget the exact year, the market's averaged about 10%, and again, there's lots of hills, lots of valleys along the way, but ultimately, if you're invested in for the long term and you're invested in great quality assets, I don't know, maybe you put all your money in Dogecoin. I don't doesn't really say what you're invested in, but if you're invested in something like a broad index fund that's invested in something like the S&P 500, again, if you're in it for the long haul, you should be in a great position, another decade from now.
Yeah, I think it's always nice, if you ever worry, just look at the past history and just zoom out. Whenever you zoom out, you kind of see that steady climb, kind of like those 10% returns you're talking about. I think another good tip for everyone out there, just make sure you're not investing, the money that is supposed to pay your rent next month or the, gas to get to your job. And, investments are a gamble, but, with time on your side, compounding interest, things like that, they can be a great financial benefit.
Yeah, definitely. Don't invest money that you don't have. Always take care of those four walls first. At the end of the day, make sure your family are going to be okay before you start investing money afterwards. So, once again, thanks for the question. And I think it's about time to move into our interview with Jessica. So here you guys go. This episode of Brew Bucks is supported by Capitalize. Alec, did you know that there's about $1.3 trillion in forgotten 401k money?
Wow, that sounds like a lot of money to be left on the table. Why is this happening?
Well, people are constantly changing jobs, especially in this day and age. When people change jobs, often one of the last things on their mind is taking their 401k with them by rolling it over to an IRA.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't like spending hours on the phone trying to get something like this done.
And that's why Capitalize is such a great solution. I was completely shocked when I learned about Capitalize. They do everything for you for free. Yes, I mean completely free. All you have to do is tell them who your old 401k is with, and they will help you roll it over to an IRA with ease with whoever you want.
In the show notes, we have listed a link to Capitalize for all you Brew Bucks listeners. Head on over so you can get your old 401k rolled over today.
Jessica, officially welcome to the Brew Bucks podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Super excited to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Definitely.
Thank you, again for coming on. I think we're excited to show some of the listeners what your insight is and what you can bring to the table in terms of wholesaling.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you might know, Jessica, we're going to start off each show by talking about what type of brew we will be sipping on. Whether it's a nice cup of coffee or a nice cold beer, there's something different about having a conversation with a drink in your hand. Our goal is to be able to provide some interviews and conversations with awesome guests while not taking ourselves too seriously and most importantly, having some fun along the way. So, our normal co-host, Alec, is not here today, and he normally starts off the show. So, Doug, it looks like you're going to have to fill those shoes.
So unfortunately, Alec made some poor financial decisions, so I'll be today's co-host. With that being said, I'm sipping on a beer from New Glory. It's Gummy Worms. It's a pale ale. The ABV is 5.8%. Has Citra and Amarillo hops, and this is one I've had in the past, but since I came on, I wanted to make sure that I got a great brew for myself. So without further ado, let me give it a try.
Gummy Worms can is super cool too.
Yes, it did fit the festive upcoming holiday season with Halloween right around the corner. It's a great beer, one of my favorites actually, and definitely would give this a buy rating.
Buy. So for those who have maybe not listened to a couple episodes, basically the way we rank our beers or our drinks every day is either a buy, you should seek this beer out and buy it, a try, like, if it's on the shelf, grab it, a sigh, like, or a die, never pick up this beer ever. So it's actually a rating system we stole from a podcast called The Beerists, and they're awesome. So I am sipping on a beer called Hops of Wrath. It's an IPA, 6.6% from a brewery called Dust Bowl out of Turlock, California. Nice bright orange golden color. Let's see, sipping on here. Definitely like a strong malt backbone, moderately bitter, but definitely fruity, lots of citrus, and it's another one that I enjoy. So, Jessica, what do you got today?
Well, damn, I wish I had beer now. I just have your classic iced vanilla latte, super basic, but you know what? So good.
I love it. Where's your go-to coffee spot?
Okay, so it's 151 Coffee. It's like a local coffee shop right down the street from me. And it's one of those places that constantly has a line wrapped all the way around the building. They have like all these teenagers like out with the iPads getting all the orders. They have like rap and R&B like blaring from the system. It's crazy, but it's awesome, especially for like this suburb in Texas. And I'm like, yes, I'm here for it. I love it. And so that's my place.
I love it. It sounds like, do you guys have Dutch Bros out there? Dutch Bros coffee?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's kind of our like similar, like same thing, like super.
Yeah.
Great coffee and even better experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
I love it. Well, once again, thanks for coming on and thanks for sharing a drink with us. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Jessica. So let's kick this thing off. We really like to kind of start off every interview by getting to know you a little bit better. So what was your childhood like, and specifically, like, what was growing up like surrounding the area of Money?
Yeah. So I honestly grew up in like literally the textbook middle class, like maybe a notch, a hair above middle class. Like my parents both worked, they both had really good jobs. And they never really talked about money, but we were comfortable. We never wanted for anything. We were not rich by any means, but my parents were definitely like responsible with their money and stuff like that. And so it was like, I never thought about money. at all, like in a negative way, but somehow I still kind of grew up. I don't know if it was like just American culture, TV, movies, or whatever, but I somehow still got this like kind of scarcity mindset that I knew that I was going to go to college, I was going to get a job, I was going to support myself, and I was going to make money. Like that was my number one goal in life, was just to make money. Being happy was like on the back burner. And so I just grew up with, the expectation that I was going to go to college, I was going to get a job. And, that was just kind of the expectation. And so my parents like would never, like I said, we never talked about it, but like we got an allowance, and like we weren't, like I said, we weren't rich or anything, but we were comfortable. And so I don't know, somehow along the way, I just kind of picked up the fact that, I don't know if it was like my mom working or what, but I just knew that I was always going to be independently financially, I guess, set up for myself, regardless of, if I got married or whatever. And so for some reason, that was just the track that I went on, that I've been on. And I don't know, we never talked about money. So it's just, my family, we never talked about it. So I definitely talk about it like with my kids and stuff, but that's kind of like the environment that I grew up in, just a normal, no news type of thing.
Totally. Okay, cool.
With that being said, I know you mentioned college. Can you speak a little bit about that? What did you study? Was there any finances kind of around that in college, whether it was student loans or what your specific, what'd you graduate with?
Yeah, I did go to college really with no aim in mind. It was like, you just graduate high school, then you go to college. And so my parents did have like a college fund for my sister and I. However, I had like I said, zero like strategy, or like I had no clue. I just went because for like no reason, honestly, like, oh, get a bachelor's, get the piece of paper. And so I ended up going for like 5 years, like over 5 years. So my parents were like, we're going to pay for 4 years. And then after that, you're on your own. So I did have a little bit of student loans in there because I ended up majoring in psychology, which is, like for me, it was kind of easy. I'm like, I just need to freaking graduate. And it was honestly, it was a great experience, but like, I am like the textbook example of like my generation. I'm 39. So I am like the generation that everyone in high school was, you're going to college, regardless of what do you want to do? What do you want to be? Like everyone doesn't need to go to college, And I don't regret it. It was a good experience. I actually went back to college for my master's degree in business, a few years of being in the corporate world, because I thought maybe then I'll like figure out what I want to do with my life. And that was again a great experience, but it was like 20 grand to do that for what? I don't know. So it's like I have like the pieces of paper, and I'm sure I learned stuff and, things like that. I definitely networked and I have amazing relationships out of that. But now I'm in real estate, wholesaling houses, which my competition is like 19, 20-year-old guys and girls, you know what I mean? And so I'm sure, I know I bring something different to the table, but like college is not for everybody. But that was the generation that like I grew up in, is everyone has to go to college, and it's not the case for sure.
I really love hearing that, because I think the education system especially the higher education system, is so broken right now. And there's so many pieces that are just, off the wall, going crazy, from the student loan crisis to just kind of to what you were speaking on. Like, it's not the world that it used to be, where every single person needs to go to college, needs to get a degree to be successful in life. And it's really cool seeing that you've been able to experience both sides, where you have the degree, but you also have the side where you're doing something that you didn't necessarily need to go to college for, that you're crushing it at as well, so it's cool being able to see that contrast. And so thanks for speaking to that. So I guess maybe let's jump into, our main topic of the day, which is wholesaling houses 101, right? So why don't we first, I guess, maybe break down like what actually is wholesaling in layman terms? Like, what is wholesaling and how does it work?
Yeah. Okay. So wholesaling houses is basically getting a house under contract with a seller. So you are doing a purchase agreement contract with a seller, and then you are assigning that contract to a cash buyer investor. So you're, kind of the person that finds the deal. You're finding a motivated seller, someone who really needs to sell their house, who is willing to take a lower price because they need cash, they need a convenient sale, they don't want to list it on the market, or it probably can't be listed on the market. You're saying, okay, seller, I am going to go under contract with you for $100,000. And then you can assign that contract as another contract with an investor that says, I'm assigning this contract to another person, another entity or something for $120,000, for example. And you keep the difference. So for that example, it'd be $20,000. You really don't need any money in the transaction, because you're going to, depending on the state, you're going to be sending both contracts to a title company or a real estate attorney. And the whole closing with both transactions is going to happen on one day. So they're just going to do this one, and then they're going to come over here and do this one. And it's all going to take place in one day. So unless there's earnest money or something, I don't want to get too far deep into the details, but you're not actually buying the house. You're getting it under contract. So that means that you have control of the property, and then you're assigning the contract to the end buyer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So
Okay.
so finding a property, getting under contract for a certain price, and then essentially finding someone else to take the same contract but for a slightly higher price, right? It's kind of in a way.
That's exactly it. Yes.
Okay, got it. So does it have to be assigned to a cash buyer? Like like when you're looking for an investor, does it have to be a cash buyer, or can they be someone who maybe still likes the deal but wants to still finance it?
They could finance it through hard money, which hard money is essentially cash. It's just quick. But if they're wanting to do like a conventional loan or something like that, no, because the value that we are bringing to the seller for a lower price is that we're going to close in 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to get cash. And most of these houses are not in a condition that a conventional lender would lend on. They are run down, they're hoarder houses. So most conventional lenders, or especially like FHA, all those types of loans, it has to be livable condition. They're only going to invest their money into something that is already in good condition. So these houses are not in a condition where, so really the seller's only option is either to fix it up themselves if they want to like list it on the market. And a lot of these people in this situation either don't want to, or they don't have $50,000, $60,000 to rehab a house. And so they're just like, give me $100,000, whatever it is. And I'm good, I'm happy, and then they just want to move on. So the answer is that we're selling to investors who are either going to get a hard money loan or they're going to use cash.
Got it. Okay.
Do you generally find that your investors that you're working with are flippers?
Yeah.
Quote unquote. They know exactly what they're getting into, and you're more of acting as a source for them to find good investments for their goals.
Exactly. So a wholesaler, like my job is I'm finding deals for investors who want to flip. I personally don't want to flip. We have a couple rentals, we've rehabbed houses, and it's not for the faint at heart. I enjoy finding the deal, assigning the contract, being out of it, let somebody else mess with the plumbing from 1920 and stuff like that, and do it that way. So yes, your job as a wholesaler is finding the deal, and you have to know your value, because a lot of people are like, well, $20,000 or $15,000 for just assigning a contract. Well, it's a lot of work finding that seller and getting someone who, is very motivated and willing to trade a lower cash price for, a quick sale and stuff like that. It's a lot of work. So you have to know your value as a wholesaler. And then flippers or even buy and hold or other investors, they're busy flipping houses. They don't want to cold call. They don't want to send out text messages and post cards and try to negotiate contracts. They're busy flipping. So they're happy to pay $120,000 for a house that I got for $100 if they can fix it up and sell it for $250 or whatever the case may be. So they're not in the business necessarily of finding the deals. They're happy to pay me a fee. They're going to do. It's like everyone has their expertise, and it works out, works out for everybody. If you're doing it ethically or doing it the right way, it's a good business.
It's like a scavenger hunt.
Oh yeah. A needle in a haystack.
I love it. So I think you already touched on it a little bit, but so basically houses that are unlistable, basically it just means that the living conditions are not great enough to get a loan on. It's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's one. So that's one of them. That's probably one of the most common. There's like a few deals that I do a lot. Like one would be a tired landlord. So I deal with a lot of landlords that might have a bunch of properties. The houses do need work, but they don't want to list it. They don't want to deal with open houses. They just want to sell it for cash. Give me my cash in 3 weeks. I don't care. If you can give me this price, I'm good. Usually they own the house for like 30, 40 years anyways. They're already going to make a killing on it. So they don't care about an extra 15, 20 grand. Like they just want it easy, stress-free, or probate, people that have inherited a property. So they don't even have any money into the property. They're like, give me 80 grand. I'm good, whatever it is. So there can be different situations. But a lot of them, they're distressed, and mostly it's people that want the convenience factor more than an extra 10 grand or something.
Got it.
Definitely. It kind of seems like, at this point, people are valuing their time, right? Because you want to your time is valuable. And if you can be as convenient as possible for them to offload a property that they have or something that they would have to put a lot more of their own time, energy, resources into, seems like a great path for someone that maybe doesn't have a bunch of time or, wants to get rid of something that,
sometimes even like, I feel like people there's like a lot of emotions, kind of what you were talking about, like with probate. Like sometimes maybe it's a house that their grandma just died and they really just want to be done with it and over it and not kind of have to go through that pain of listing it and all that kind of stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Jessica, can you break down, can you let us know like when you first got involved in real estate and how you decided that wholesaling was your preferred path? I know that you said you'd been in a few different other real estate, entities, but kind of walk us through that story for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I went to college, got the corporate job, did that for 13 long, miserable years. And through that time, my husband and I, so back in 2014, I had started researching like to get our first house. And I was like, oh, what's a good investment for our first house? And that brought up bigger pockets. And I just started like reading everything I could about that. I like completely was like, oh my gosh, rental property. This is like the way we're going to go. And so we bought like 2 rental properties over that time period. And then, so I was still in the corporate world up until 2020. And with COVID, so I was recruiting physicians and things like that. And so everything kind of shut down. I got laid off at that time. And, but it was really a blessing. I was planning on quitting, anyways. And so it just kind of worked out that, okay, now I'm going to just do real estate. I really didn't know what I was going to do for active income, so that we could keep buying rentals. So we tried Airbnb. We had one Airbnb that I managed, and I just wanted to kind of try it out. That really wasn't for me. So we kind of let that go. And then I joined a coaching group at the end of 2020, and we were just kind of learning about how to find deals, how to find rentals and stuff like that. And then in January of 2021, it just kind of dawned on me that, I'm sitting here looking for our next rental, but why don't I wholesale the deals that we're not going to keep for active income? And so January of 2021 is when I just kind of like, I was like, I'm already cold calling. I'm already like looking for our own rentals because I just couldn't bring myself to buy it from another wholesaler. And really at that time, it was a really hot market and the margins just did not make sense for a rental. It made sense for flippers because, everything was so high, but to have as a rental, it just did not make sense. So I was like, okay, January 21, I'm going to focus on wholesaling. And so I just started getting my own list, cold calling, door knocking, text messaging. And it took me until June or July to get my first wholesale deal. And so after that, I actually partnered with someone for that first deal, which I would recommend for anyone new because like you're just like, who am I going to sell this to? How am I going to assign it? And so I had a guy that lived in my area who was in my coaching group, and we just like kind of got along great. He helped me assign the deal, and then we actually ended up working together for the next like year. And we did a lot of deals in that time period. And so I got a lot of really good experience, met a lot of awesome people, all of that, that was kind of rolling along. And then just like in August of this last year, that partnership kind of fizzled. And now I'm on my own again. But it's awesome. I just got a deal yesterday. And it's good. Like I'm setting myself up. It's going to be an awesome year next year. But that's kind of how my experience. It's really not even that much experience, but it's it's what it is. It's fun.
It sounds like you've kind of got that personality for it, So
yeah.
I think also we need to come up with a name for the Bigger Pockets rabbit hole because it's something it's something that comes up a lot. But it's like, you get attached, you read a couple of those books or listen to a couple of those podcasts, and the next thing you know, you're 500 hours deep in Bigger Pockets.
Every book, every podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so true. And especially like if you're like me and you're in a job that you don't like and you're just like looking for that escape route. And so I'm like, I'm going to learn everything I can. We're going to get a rental, like whatever.
So really quick, if you can kind of answer, I know that you said that you started with a partner, but how did you land on wholesaling? I feel like there's so many different parts of real estate. Can you kind of just tell the listeners how you stumbled upon wholesaling specifically? Because I think for the average real estate investor, wannabe real estate investor, wholesaling might not be at the top of the list when there's buy and hold short-term rentals out there. So love to kind of hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I will say when I discovered Bigger Pockets, at that point, I was really reading and learning everything I could about real estate investing. And in that journey, I did learn about wholesaling. I did learn about buy and hold, Airbnb, flipping, all that kind of stuff. So it was, I always knew that it was there. And, but wholesaling has really had a very bad reputation, like, especially when you go back years, a lot of realtors, even like flippers and other investors, like they just think that it's a scummy way to make money. I think that's changing, but because there has been a lot of people that really would go into like the old lady and be like, oh, I'll give you $50,000. Your house isn't worth anything. And like, really we're not ethical about it. But I mean, that's like in any industry. So that didn't really like faze me. But so it was on my radar a little bit. But I will say, I mean, as I learned about it, in this coaching group, they talked about wholesaling. They talked about buy and holds, and they talked about that. And so I was looking for a way to make money, and I wanted to make a lot of money. And I wanted to do it in real estate, and I didn't want to rely on, you have to have a lot of cash to buy the rentals. Even if you're doing the BRRRR strategy, which we do, you still have to have cash. And so I was making 6 figures, which it's funny because that's like, oh, that's a goal, but like, that's nothing. When you take out taxes, and that's nothing at the end of the day. And so I was seeing people make $20,000, $10,000, $30,000 wholesaling houses. And I'm like, I'm already looking for deals. So why don't I just assign the contract to another investor? and I don't have to do the rehab. I have no risk because I can cancel the contract if I have to. I mean, to me, it's like all the puzzle pieces just kind of clicked in place for something that totally made sense for me to be in real estate and make a lot of money at the same time without any risk. So I did know about it, but it's like, this is why I think people need to just get in and meet people and learn and just get in the world of it and learn as much as you can. And then just like try things. We have rentals. I tried Airbnb. I got licensed at one point as a realtor. That wasn't for me. So sometimes you just have to try different things and then see what fits with your personality, what is flowing for you, and just follow it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
I think that's great that you tried so many avenues and you found something that kind of that spoke to you. I think that for a lot of people, it's tough to, be like, oh, I want to do this. Well, if you might not have the skill set for that, it might not work out. But you can find a different form of investment that works out perfectly for your personality or skill set. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's the first step someone should take that is interested in getting started in wholesaling?
Okay, so the first thing that you should do is learn everything you can about it. Get on YouTube. There's so much free information out there. YouTube, just everything out there. Learn as much as you can, but then give yourself a time limit of like a month or 2 months. And then you need to just start talking to sellers. You need to get a list of motivated sellers. I have links of what I use and stuff like that, but you have to get a list of motivated sellers. You have to get the contact information and you have to just start calling them. Like you have to be ready to fail, be ready to get cussed out. And you have to be hungry for it. Like, I just feel like I have so many people that ask me questions all the time about, this and that, and they just like never want to take action. But you just have to get in there and learn as you go. You're not going to know everything. You just have to learn from experience. So learn everything you can, but then while you're doing that, start getting a list of motivated sellers and just start calling them.
Yeah, totally. And get comfortable with hearing the word no, huh? How many no's would you say on average you get before you get a yes?
Oh my gosh. Hundreds, if not thousands.
Okay. That's just, and I think for a lot of people that sounds like, oh man, that would be demoralizing or something. But at the end of the day, that is just part of the wholesaling industry, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I know that personally, I'm selling my house that I live in, and I think that a lot of times sellers are emotionally attached sometimes to a house. And for example, I don't think I could use a wholesaler because it's where I've grown up and lived for so long. But finding, hearing those hundreds of no's and finding the people that it will work out for, that you're able to provide that service and convenience factor for, is the way to go, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like any sales business. Absolutely. You just have to, whoever can move on the fastest is going to be the winner. And it's just part of it. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. I mean, I have cold callers now and I have an acquisition manager now, but I did it all myself and it's not for everybody. But the thing is that, if you're going to be in a high sales position, if you're going to be in, real estate, that high income, you have to sell. It's a skill set. You have to know how to sell. You have to know how to work with people, but not everybody needs to do that. I don't think everybody needs to be a wholesaler. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. With that being said, can we kind of provide the listeners with a deal or something or how you would analyze? So, for example, do you have a target number for deals that you try to hit? And if you're comfortable with going into the specifics, that's fine. If not, give us just a general outline of what that would look like.
Yeah. So do you mean like how much I want to make, or just like if I'm looking at a deal?
Yeah, essentially like what a target percentage would be, or, depending on your deals. I'm sure all the houses you're buying are not $50,000, but run us through a deal and what you would analyze and look at.
Yeah. Okay. So for the wholesale fee, which is actually a really common question, is like, how do you come up with that? For me and for my market, where average ARVs could be anywhere from like 150 to 350 to 450, 500. Okay. So it's not like California, Seattle, where it's like $1 million homes. If that was the case, I would be wanting higher fees. But for me in Texas, I really want to be anywhere between 15 to 20,000 is where I'm going to like start. Because it may or may not end up being that amount. I mean, you might get offers from cash buyers that are lower. So you can't start out at 5,000, because then if your offers come in low, you're not making any money and it's really not a deal at the end of the day. So that's what I do. I just go, if anyone is wanting to know the formula that I'm going off now in this market, is I'm going off of the ARV, which you can honestly get it on Zillow or Redfin or something if you don't have the MLS access. Do 70% of that minus repairs, minus your wholesale fee. So that's like where we're going. Or I've heard other investors that just do 60% of Zillow and, just try to work it from there. At the end of the day, everyone's numbers are going to be a little bit different. Every cash buyer is going to have a little bit, I have to make 100,000. Some are happy if they make 30,000. Some have higher costs, some have lower costs. So it's a little bit of a guessing game at the end of the day, but you can at least get in the ballpark with those formulas. And yeah, so that's what I use.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I assume that the 70% after repair value is so that, the flippers and et cetera still have plenty of room to make money on their end, right?
Exactly. It's their money. It's their holding costs, closing costs, realtor fees, because they're going to list it on the market. It's all of that taken into consideration.
Got it. Okay. So I know you mentioned that you are wholesaling in Texas. Do you wholesale anywhere else, like outside of Texas, or are you just kind of sticking to that one market?
I'm just in Texas now. I'm in a couple different markets here, but maybe one day we'll see what happens. Yeah, but for right now, I feel really familiar with my areas and stuff like that. So I'm just going to start there and then maybe build from there.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense if you're in an area where it is accessible and easy to do. Is it possible to be successful doing it in other markets?
Absolutely. I mean, even here in Dallas, like everything is done over the computer. I mean, there have been times, especially when I was first starting out, I would drive to go meet the seller. I'd bring them the contract, stuff like that. But these days with DocuSign, so you can pull a list anywhere of motivated sellers, vacant, probate, whatever, pre-foreclosure. You can pull it anywhere, any zip code, anywhere. So you can do that. You can call them. You can send them the contract. I mean, you can see the house on Google and on Zillow and stuff like that. And then if you have to, like if I was going to do another state, say Tennessee or something, if you get it under a contract and then all your bids are coming in super low, like the rehab is way worse than what you thought, then you can just go back to the seller and say, hey, we got to lower the price. The bids are, the bids are coming in really low for my contractors and stuff like that. And renegotiate the price, at that point. So that's a lot of people's concern, is that, oh, what if they're lying about the condition? Well, if they're lying about the condition, we're lowering the price, or we don't have a deal,
Yeah.
So you can absolutely do it from anywhere. And a lot of people do.
Cool.
So you find that I know you said right now you're sticking to your area, but you find that there are wholesalers out there. For example, say me and Jake, we're in Northern California. It's extremely expensive here. If we did want to invest in, say, Georgia, the possibilities are still there, so long as you have some experience, have a team to process and manage these deals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you don't even really need a team, to be honest. Like, you can have your own team. There's a lot of people that do from California and the Pacific Northwest that do Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, all those places.
Got it. Do you find it's kind of harder to do that, maybe like over the phone, where maybe like face to face? Do you find like sometimes it's a little bit easier to, I guess, build like those relationships and kind of push some more deals through?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely an advantage to being face to face. for sure. But the thing is that I've realized is that the time factor, it hasn't paid off to where I'm making $100,000 more a month being face to face.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
if I can do more deals virtually, I'm gonna go that route, because I have, like I said, I've gone out to the houses, I've taken the pictures myself, I've brought the contracts, and a lot of times you still don't even get the deal. You know what I mean? So I just wasted a day of my time when I could have been cold calling and gotten a whole nother deal, gotten 2 other deals. And so it is a little bit of like, if I was going to buy the house and keep it for myself, maybe for a burr property or something, I might spend more time on it. But like for just wholesaling, there's definitely value, especially when you're first starting out, to just maybe get that first deal or whatever. There's high value in meeting face to face, definitely. But I just haven't seen the ROI on it necessarily for my time at this point.
No, totally makes sense.
So I know that you had mentioned, finding foreclosures or through probate, but for someone who's new into wholesaling, where are some other areas that you're able to find deals?
I guess the best, most common ways to source deals when they're starting out.
Yeah. Okay. So you can, if you don't have any money, or, you're low on funds or something, you can drive around and look for rundown houses. Now, this is going to take you a long time. I mean, I would start with driving around. I would make a list of the addresses. I would look up the owner, leave them a Post-it on their door, find out who owns it, contact them. Okay. So that's one way, is just by driving around. The other way is referrals. I would get on social media, talk to your friends and family. I mean, once a month, be reminding people, hey, I'm looking for a fixer-upper house, things like that. The third way and most efficient way, if you have a few $100s or something that you can invest, is by going to like Batch Leads or PropStream or something like that. These are places that have data that you can buy, and it has thousands and thousands of property owners' data that you can buy. You skip trace it and get the phone numbers, and you just reach out to them that way. And you can filter out all those lists by vacant, absentee owner, which would be like a tired landlord, and just a bunch of different things. You can filter out based on how long they've owned the property, how old the property is, things like that, and get really creative. And there's tons of videos out there on YouTube about different lists you can pull. But those are like the 3 ways, if you're just starting out, that you're going to get a deal.
Cool. Makes sense. I guess the next question, and like the other side of that, would be, how do you make sure you continuously have like a pipeline of investors lined up and ready to take over these deals?
Yeah. Okay. So, networking for sure. Whether it's social media, I mean, I'm big on social media. Just like, you should be out there talking about what you're doing, even if you're not doing a lot. Just be out there. Okay. I've gotten buyers from social media. I've gotten at Facebook investor groups. My buyer yesterday was from Facebook. I put on like 3 different, Facebook investor groups. So like in Dallas, it's called like DFW real estate investors. There's like different variations. Join all of those. And then, so what I'll do is I'll just go in there and say, hey, I got a great deal in this zip code. It's 3,000 square feet. Message me if you're interested. And literally, and you're going to get a whole bunch of people like that. And then you just call them, talk to them, make sure that they're legitimate. And you just start building up your buyers list that way. And in those groups also, you can see who like the big flippers are, who the big investors are. And you want to network with them and let them know, hey, I'm looking for deals. I'd love for you to be like one of my buyers. What are you looking for? And get the criteria of the flippers, of the buyers. And that's what you want to look for in your list. And in when you're out driving around, is what people are buying.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. What happens if you can't find someone? Which is probably rare.
Yeah. If you can't find someone, it's probably not a great deal, because everything has its price. Okay. So it's probably priced too high. And and this market has shifted in the last few months. So like even when my partner and I at the time, like we have some things under contract that a month later, the price is too high. And so you have to cancel the contract. You either have to see what bids you can get from cash buyers, like, hey, what would you pay for this? Where are you at on price? And if you can renegotiate with the seller to get the deal done, then you definitely want to do that. Worst case scenario is that you just have to cancel the contract and just let the seller know, hey, the market shifted. Rehab costs are a lot higher than they were a few months ago, and I can't do it at this price. So you just send the the termination contract to the title company, and it gets canceled.
Got it.
It sounds like in your line of work, efficiency and moving quickly is the name of the game, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you speak on some big mistakes that new wholesalers make when they're first starting out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is not taking enough action. I think that so many, and I just know this because I talk to so many people every single day that are just stuck in the education phase, and they feel like they have to know everything before starting. And you are literally never going to know everything, because there's things that you are not going to know until you're in that situation. So the biggest mistake I think is that they're waiting to know everything. And the thing with wholesaling is that we never want to go into a deal like we don't want to just be canceling contracts, just playing with people. Like that's not the right thing to do. But if you get in a situation where it's too high, the rehab is a lot more than you thought, you can cancel. So you have to get in the game. You have to start talking to sellers. So I think that it's not taking enough action. A lot of times people usually get into contracts that are too high. So if you're new, I would definitely recommend getting those buyers and saying, hey, for a property like this, I don't just give out the address to everybody because people can go around you, but just say, hey, this is the zip code. I got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It needs all cosmetics plus a roof. Where would you need to be on price? And then you can go back to the seller, and if they're in the ballpark, try to negotiate. So you have to kind of work backwards with the buyers. I don't think enough do that. And so, you really can't make a lot of really big mistakes in wholesaling because you're not taking a lot of risk. So that's a good thing.
When you were new starting out, do you feel like you weren't taking enough action? Because hearing you speak now, I feel like you are the one that's like, I'll go out, I'll figure it out, I'll put my best foot forward, whether it works out or not. I'm going to find a way to call a buyer, find sellers. You kind of seem like someone that was the one driving around looking for houses.
Go get her.
Yeah, go get her for sure. I'm like getting fired up just hearing you talk.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, go ahead.
No. So I was just wondering, like, is there, like, can you overdo it in wholesaling? Is there too much action that you can take? No? Oh, that's awesome.
No. I was knocking on doors. I had mace in my pocket. I was knocking on doors. I was leaving Post-its. You can't sleep on it because it's just like any other sales job. Like people that are selling cars, people that are whatever, you can't take too much action. Oh, okay. So that brings me to another mistake. This actually might be the number one mistake. Not following up. Okay.
Ooh.
Not following up with your leads. 99% of your deals are going to come from following up. It's not going to be from that first conversation. So you have to follow up. If they say, oh, maybe I'll sell in a month, you call them back in 2 weeks. You have to be hungry. And if you're not hungry and you're not a go-getter, that's okay. But this is going to be a hard job for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I like that you've constantly brought up the point of taking action, because there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I want to do this, but they aim, and never pull the trigger, and so sometimes just take the first step, just go knock on a door, something to get the ball rolling. Yeah, I like it.
Yes. And this is what I tell a lot of people that ask me, questions and stuff, is like, the biggest advice that I give people, and this is what I actually do myself, is like pick out one thing that you're going to do today that's going to move you forward. Don't make a list of 25 things. I'm going to do all of these today because number one, you won't. And then you're going to feel like shit because you didn't do it. And then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I suck at this. And it's like a spiral. And like mindset is like I work on my mindset every single day. And like, that's a game changer between people that are successful and people are not. So even what I do now is like, I pick the one most important thing that I can do today. Yesterday, in the last couple of days, I needed to find a buyer. I needed to find a buyer for this property. So that's all I did. That's all I focused on. Everything else went to the side, and that's all I did. For someone new, okay, I'm going to pull a list today. I'm going to watch a YouTube video. I'm going to do whatever they say on there and pull my list. The next day, I'm going to call one phone number, or if I'm scared of that, I'm going to text one phone number. Or I'm going to go leave a Post-it on one door. And then you just snowball it from there. But that's what I tell people all the time is do less and just be present in the moment. Don't think about the future. Don't think about the past. Just pick out one thing and just do that. And then just go from there.
Have you read the book, The One Thing? I think that's what it's called.
No, I need to though. Is that in there?
That's exactly what it is. Yep.
Oh my God.
I think they call it the most important next step, like identifying the one step. Like if I could only do one thing today, what would it be? And so it's cool that you're already doing that because
I'm sure I heard that. Yeah, I'm sure I heard that along the way, but I love it because you think that you have to do more, and 99% of the time you have to just do less because you get overwhelmed and then you don't do anything.
Totally.
So I do need to read that book though.
So it sounds like you don't need to be a real estate agent to get started in wholesaling. Do you kind of just need to maybe build a relationship with like a title company or someone to help you write the contracts? Do you have to use an attorney, or I guess how does writing those contracts work? And do you kind of need a partner to do that?
That's a good question. That's one of my other most popular questions is about contracts. So I would say, just to touch on the license thing, is if you want to wholesale, don't go get licensed to wholesale. A lot of brokerages and states do not want, it's too convoluted. There's too many regulations around licensing and representing buyers and sellers. Wholesaling, you are not representing anybody. You represent yourself. And so there can be you can wholesale if you're a realtor, but don't get licensed to wholesale houses, if that makes sense. It just makes it way more complicated. But the contracts thing, so in Texas, you can use the state's promulgated like Texas Real Estate Commission contracts. Just make sure that where it says buyer, that it says your name or your entity or assigns. That is going to allow you to assign the contract. That's a very big, important thing that you need to have in your contract. Or I think there's examples online. You can get an attorney to write your contract for you. I would recommend, this whole business is networking, making great relationships, seeing how you can help other people first. And when you build those relationships, they will share a contract with you. Yeah, just ask them, what contract do you use? And they'll share it with you. That's what I would do, because the state's like real estate commission contract is like 9 pages long. It has like blocks of text on it that don't even apply to what you're doing. And it can really overcomplicate everything. So I use like a 2-page Word document that's very simple, spelled out. That's what I would use. So I would look for an example online. Every state is different, but find a simple version and just know what your state says. Like in Texas, any real estate transaction that's in writing is a valid contract. It can be on a napkin and it's a valid contract. So it doesn't have to be like stamped by an attorney and like, all of this. That's in Texas. So everyone should know their own state laws and things like that. But I would say build some great relationships, see how you can help somebody, and then, hey, what contract are you using? Yeah. And they'll share it with you. Yeah.
I think so often, like, people think about, like, people who have bought in a house themselves before and, like, gone through the title process are like, oh my God, I had to sign 4,000 pages. Like, Like, how do you
Yeah.
get good at that? And when in reality, it's like, no, it's just a simple 2-page paper that, you know, you guys both
Yeah,
agree on and sign. So I think there's,
exactly.
that's a lot of good clarity there. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jessica, I feel like we've gotten a ton of information from you. I know I've learned so much. I guess before we get into our lightning round, I just want to talk about the ways that maybe you were helping people through your social media, because I know, you know, we've connected on Instagram and you're sharing a lot of content on there. So I guess, you know, share with the audience kind of what you're doing over there.
Yeah, social media. Yeah, it's fun. Just so you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Live Free REI. So I'm all about making money, but the most important thing is living a life that I love, being free of any kind of job, you know, all of that. For me, that's the number one thing. And then money just helps me do that. So Live Free REI on Instagram and TikTok. I have links for like where I get my list, the dialer that I used to use, skip tracing, all that kind of stuff. Even like on Amazon, like the headset that I used to use back in the day, things like that. Just all those recommendations. And yeah, so that's where you can find me and join the party.
Cool. I love it. All right, so let's jump into our lightning round. You ready, Doug?
I'm ready to go.
All right. What's our first question?
All right, Jessica. So, what is your favorite beer or beverage?
Okay. I do like beer, but I'm not a beer connoisseur. Okay, I have to say. But I like the ones y'all were drinking sounded good. If I'm at the bar, my thing right now is ranch water. Do you
Oh
guys do ranch
man. Oh yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
water? Yeah, it's so good.
Every time we go out to Texas, it seems like that's just it's what's
All
popping
our
up in
friends,
there.
it's like that's the cool thing out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Hanging by
that's
the
the cool
pool,
thing.
you have some ice down ranch waters ready to go.
Yes, it's so good because it's tequila, Topo Chico, and like fresh lime juice. It's like very simple and like
Refreshing,
I used
especially
to
in
do
that
all
Texas
this
heat.
fruity.
Low calorie.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
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 It's so good.
Totally.
So that's my favorite drink at the moment.
Cool. What's your
Yeah.
favorite book?
Mm. Okay. It was so hard to pick one, but I got it right here. It's called U Squared. Can't really see it, but it's called U Squared with a 2. Okay. Have you
Got
guys
it.
it's like really
No.
it's skinny.
Who's it by?
Okay, it's by Price Pritchett,
Okay.
Pritchet. Okay, this was recommended to me by my mentor, the guy that runs my coaching group. And it's really thin, but it's like basically, okay, that's what it says. It's a high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness and quantum leaps. So it's about like energy, and it really like shifts your mindset. Like it's really applicable to any business, anything out there, and it just like opens your mind to possibilities that you never think of. Like, okay, I just started wholesaling, and hey, can I make 500,000 next year? You know, like it just makes you think bigger, and it just teaches you how to like, you know, just get your vibration, your energy, and just like really kind of tap into like all of that kind of stuff to help you exponentially grow your business or whatever it is that you're focusing on in life. But it's like each chapter is like a page and a half long, and so you can just read a little bit every day. But it's awesome. It just like teaches you how to think bigger.
Yeah.
That sounds like an energy drink for your brain, and I could see how passionate you are talking about that. So we'll definitely add that to our list.
Yes, it's so little, but it's so good. It's like it's awesome. Get it.
I love it.
Awesome. So where is your favorite place that you visited or place that you want to visit next?
Okay, so I have actually been a lot of places. My parents are like really big into traveling and stuff like that. Okay, so my favorite place that I've been to is Egypt. We went to Egypt in 2010, like several years ago at this point, but it was amazing. Like it was just I can't even really like describe it, but I mean it has like the hieroglyphics from like 4,000 years ago, and like it's insane. It was an amazing trip. The people there were amazing. That was definitely my favorite trip ever. And I think as far as like in the future, my husband and I are always just like thinking about the day when we're just like, oh, let's just go to Italy for 2 months. Or like, he really wants to go to like Scotland and Amsterdam, and because Scotland has the oldest golf course or something.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
So we just want to go everywhere. We want to go to Japan. I mean, everywhere. So
Cool. That's awesome.
long answer.
I love it. Cool. Well, our last question, kind of a loaded one. What does retirement look like / mean to you?
Okay, retirement for me really just means like options, freedom, being able to do whatever I want, being able to give generously. I just want to be able to like tell my parents or my in-laws, like, hey, we just paid off your cars. Or, whatever, like we paid off your house, like, hey, or get my friends, hey, we're all going to go to Mexico for 2 weeks, like giving generously, having amazing life experiences that we can share with the people that we love, being able to live somewhere, like being able, like mobile, being able to live anywhere, anytime for however long we want, things like that, really just being able to like do whatever we want. That's the goal.
Yeah, totally. I love what you said about being able to like just take your family somewhere for an extended period of time. Like I know that's always been one of my biggest goals, to be able to be like, hey, all my greatest friends and family, I booked you all flights and hotels. This is where we're going. Like,
yes,
it's on me. Let's go.
awesome. Yes,
okay. Cool.
That's awesome.
All right, Jessica. Well, one more time, where can people find you?
Yeah, on Instagram and TikTok at Live Free REI. That's me.
Sweet. Well, once again, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us. I've had an absolute blast, and the tips have been great and super insightful. So can't thank you enough, and I'm excited to share this episode with the world. So thanks again.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. Alrighty, Doug. What did you think of our friend Jessica?
I think she was awesome. She shed a lot of light into an area of real estate that I don't think many people know a lot about. And one thing that really stood out is her kind of call to just taking the first step, her call to action. And I think that in a lot of different industries, that is the hardest part. And it was cool that that was one of her main points that she drove in.
Yeah, definitely. So many people, again, wait so long to take that first step. And I think there is so much importance in educating yourself and doing the research and making sure that, you're prepared. But at some point, like, you've got to take the first step and just start, and especially like in this specific area of wholesaling, it's like, it doesn't really take a ton to go knock on someone's door. It doesn't take a ton to pick up the phone and just call someone, and so I love what she was kind of saying about totally just taking that first step. I think too, a part that was really brought to light for me was the whole like contract piece. Again, I felt like, oh man, like I'm not a lawyer or like a title person. Like, how do you whip up these contracts and assign them to other people? So it was interesting hearing that. No, it's just a nice, easy 2-page paper, and it's not as complicated as it might seem to be. So had a great time hanging out with her.
Yeah, she was awesome for sure. And definitely make sure that you guys go check her out. I think that, just looking at her Instagram, she's definitely a ton of fun online and definitely provides a lot of value.
Agreed, man. So what do you say we get out of here? You ready?
Let's do it.
Once again, thanks for listening to the Brew Bucks podcast. My name is Jacob.
I'm Doug.
Signing off.
Hey, I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation. Hey, I'm on vacation. If you don't like your life, then you should go and change it.
Hey everyone, if you've been enjoying what you've been hearing, please head over to whatever platform you're listening on and give us a 5-star rating and review. We would really appreciate it, as this helps our podcast get more traffic and allows us to continue to have quality guests on the show for your listening pleasure.
Don't forget to follow us on social media either. Follow us on Twitter at BrewBucksPod and on Instagram at BrewBucksPodcast.
This episode of the Brew Bucks podcast was brought to you by Left Coast Finance, financial coaching for individuals and families who are looking to get out of debt, budget like a boss, or even learn to invest. Learn more at leftcoastfinance.com.